Welcome to Creators Cafe. I'm your host, Jessica Payne. I'm a performer, performance coach, and multi-hyphenate creator. I'm going to be bringing you conversations with some of my favorite creators where we talk about the sublime and the specifics of the creative journey. So grab a drink, get cozy. Let's go.
My guest, Suzanne Schmidt, is an actor, producer, writer, director, and professor. Suzanne is also a National Michael Chekhov Association instructor, which is pretty impressive. You may recognize Suzanne's face from Sons of Anarchy or Days of Our Lives, along with a lot of her other TV and film work. You may recognize Suzanne's voice from her audiobook recordings or her voice acting on the English dubbed version of a lot of Netflix shows. Suzanne is the CEO of High Tide Films, where she writes, produces, and acts in award-winning projects. Her series, Hey You, It's Me, won awards for Best Web Series, Best Comedy, and Best Webisode. Suzanne has won tons of Best Actress awards for her beautiful dramatic film, Not Nothing. And Suzanne plays JoAnne Tenuta in the upcoming biopic, It Happened, the Judy Tenuta Story, directed by Taylor Blackwell. She's also in pre-production for a fantastic new project currently titled Unboxing, which I can't wait to see. Please enjoy my friend and the creative force of nature that is Suzanne Schmidt. Suzanne Schmidt, welcome to Creators Cafe. Cheers.
Cheers.
Ha ha ha. What are you drinking today?
A pear kombucha.
And
I love kombucha.
Yeah, you introduced me to it actually, and the smell makes me a little crazy, but if I hold my nose, I love the taste of it. So it's super weird.
Oh, well, and if you get the ones in the bottle, like after they're done, that smells terrible.
Yeah.
It's the first time I ever had one was on a road trip, and I stopped and got a cayenne kombucha. And I remember I was talking to my friend Christy, and I kept saying, I would take a sip and be like, oh my God, that's so terrible. That's so awful. But I got through and after that I was addicted. But the first one I was like, but it was something that kept me coming back. Mm-hmm. But it was it's a very distinct, it was hot and also kombucha-y.
Yeah, that's so funny. Also, that's like a big commitment on a road trip.
Right. Yeah.
You're like, this is my next 2 hours.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I have an iced latte from Dialogue.
Nice. Dialogue's the best.
Yeah, they're sweet. So how do you think about yourself as an artist? What are some of the titles that you use and think about?
I am an actor, always, and recently a lot more voiceover work, so voiceover artist. I love directing theater, so producing, so far I've produced theater a decent amount, but in the last handful of years, more short films. We did a comedy series. A couple I came on as co-producer for a couple of other things. But yeah, so producing. I've also been writing in the last handful of years, more and more. It's still the thing I'm the least confident about, but but I like it. I like. Mm-hmm. I write to do. I so far haven't written many things that I don't plan on being in, or so it's where I'm writing. It's an ends or means to an end. Mm-hmm. But I actually enjoy crafting the characters. So I think anything where you're telling the human story, I really like.
Well, we first got close when I was directing Three Sisters by Chekhov. Yes. And I stumbled upon the fact that you had not only been in it, but had gone and been in Russia.
Worked on it in Russia, yeah.
Worked on it in Russia. Can you just talk about that experience a little bit? Because I think that's so cool and unlike anyone else that I've known has done.
Yeah, well, I went to grad school at NIU, Northern Illinois University, and we had the chance to go and study at the Moscow Art Theater through some sort of program that they had. Yeah. And it was amazing. I felt in those last few days at Moscow that I could live there. Looking around, I just love their reverence for art, and yeah, the way that they approach theater. And it made sense to me because when I first met Alex Gelman, who was the chair of my grad school program, he is from Russia and worked with the Moscow Art Theater. And I remember thinking, I just love how he speaks about the art and the craft. And so I think that was, and I think it's because it's so connected, as I believe our work is, to your body. Like, you do so much movement work there. And it's all with a real sense of that connection to like the psychophysical. And so, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that kind of history with Chekhov, the playwright, is also kind of rhymes with your history with the other Russian Chekhov, who's Michael Chekhov. And you're a trained specialist in that, which is such a hard program and multi-year commitment. It's very impressive what you do with that and how you get actors who are connected to their emotions, connected to their body with that. If somebody doesn't know anything about Michael Chekhov's work, what would you describe it as so that they have just like an idea of, if they're interested in looking into it more, how would you describe his stuff?
Well, it stems from this idea that when we shift something physically or energetically in our body, it actually shifts our psychology. So as you're working with transformation, as we do as actors, we're transforming or melding with the characters that we're playing. To add kind of specificity to the archetype that is the character, finding where they come from energetically is really helpful, and it does a lot of the work for you. So that's a little bit. It really, that's it. You have this it's amazing the psychological shift that happens when you shift something, and of course there are multiple tools that we work with to create that. But yeah, and Michael Chekhov is Anton Chekhov's nephew, and he also studied with Stanislavski at the Moscow Art Theater, and so he melded Stanislavski's system, the kind of script analysis, with his own kind of psychophysical energy work. He was really inspired by Eastern culture, as was Stanislavski, but I think he just took it a little further. Michael Chekhov did a lot of clown work, so he was already very connected to the physical. So I think the two, I like both. I don't, but I think they work very well together. Yeah, kind of mind and body melding.
Yeah. Well, and what I like about your work is that it always has both aspects to it, whether you're the actor or the director, or even in your writing, you've got that written into the core of the script is very physical, and the emotion comes through the physical. It's not just action for action's sake or for beauty's sake. It's for storytelling and character's sake. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I love that.
So some of your big projects that you've made on your own are, you have two that I'm thinking of that are very big and very different. So your most recent one, can you talk about your most recent short?
The one that I'm working on right now, or the one or Not Nothing?
Not Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Not Nothing, it did very well. I guess that was last year in festivals.
Yeah.
A 24-minute short. So it was not a
long short.
A long short. And that's rather dramatic, which was a departure from this comedy series I did before. That came out of, it was interesting when I sat down to write that. They came out of some exploratory questions just about the human experience. I think I had been hired to direct Long Day's Journey into Night, and done a lot of research on that, and then the funding didn't come through. But that had led to this just examination of family and of you can't love someone enough to fix them, but you still love them, and it also in combination with some stuff that I had dealt with my family. Just sat down to write originally the other person's perspective, or like a perspective other than mine, just to explore like what that was like. And then I often work with my friend Christy, who I went to grad school with, and who we did Hey You It's Me together. So in my mind, I had us as sisters, and started writing. And it was a very short, and then it grew. But yeah, and then I was lucky enough to work with Kirith Lemon, who I had come in as a director for 2 of the episodes on Hey, It's Me. And I noticed that from her other work how great she was at directing drama. So we brought her on, and we shot in Texas, where Christy was teaching at the time. We got a grant from the university because we used some of the students. We allowed them to have an educational experience in helping with a lot of the prep and on set. And yeah, it turned out very beautifully. The story I wanted to tell, it was not. There was some in the post process. We definitely had some notes that there were some opinions that we could change it structurally to become something different than what it was, to make it more marketable. So I learned a lot. In that. I ended up telling the story I wanted to. I remember coming to you and our director as well, like figuring out if we should or shouldn't take some of these notes. But I ended up really happy with the story we told, and yeah, now I'm moving on. This next thing we're working on right now is another. It's a comedy. Well, it's a dark comedy, but it's comedy.
Yeah.
back to comedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you went, we'll kind of rewind in a minute to Hey You, It's Me. So Not Nothing was the most recent one, and you won a bunch of awards, especially as a leading actress in it, which is, it's so impressive to me. I know how good of an actress you are, but to write it, to produce it, and to star in it, and then to be recognized is really beautiful. So congratulations.
Thank you. It was pretty great.
Yeah, I was glad I got to see your process for that whole thing. And it's such a big project for, it is a short, but there's a big difference between a 5-minute short that someone films with their iPhone over the weekend and something that is just a mini movie that is on location with grants, and then there's paperwork, and all of the production side is such a job, and it's such a different kind of mode to have to be in to do that successfully, but then to shift into being on set and being ready to go for, crying in the shower scene, and, it was very heart-rending, beautiful stuff that you wrote. So I didn't know the connection to Long Day's Journey, but I've directed a bunch of scenes from that before, and I completely see it. That's cool. I didn't realize that was the impetus.
Yeah, it's what had that, and like I said, some personal stuff had my brain in that space.
Yeah.
Because relationships are just so fascinating. I in my own acting class that I take, we had a long conversation about relationships last night, and in that instance, it was about romantic relationships, but relationships in general, and as they become longer, it's this new relationships. There's newness. There's still there's excitement. You're finding out new things about other people you don't maybe know all their flaws, or if you do, they're adorable or whatever. And then there's this sense when you've known someone, family or otherwise, for so many years, of what that becomes, what you also have lost from that initial stage. And it was just that was a tangent, but relationships are just fascinating. So
well, and I think that's why our art can sustain, because it's always, it's always about people and those relationships. So, okay. So speaking of relationships, your short that you're working on now, I've read many variations, and it's gone through a lot of variations. So I love watching you kind of evolve as a writer too, as you play with it. So can you just talk about where you are in the process and what you're thinking?
Yeah, I don't know if you've read the most recent draft, but I'm really happy with it right now. I actually brought, I am still the head writer, but I'm going to be working with Drama 3-4 Productions, David Fickus and Bryce Beckham, and I've brought them on as co-writers as well. So we've been crafting the script now, and I would say we're 95% to what it will be. We'll of course make shifts as we bring in casting and such. What was the question beyond that?
just where is it, and what are you excited about?
Yeah. Let's see, where is it? We are pre-production, so we're hoping to go into pre-production in a few weeks, hopefully. Right now we're in this getting our last bits of funding stage, which is exciting because we applied for fiscal sponsorship from the Heart Productions and got that, which essentially means that we are now running through the 501(c), I believe that's correct, entity from the Heart Productions. So as we go to get our last bits of funding, anyone who is funding that, then that's all tax deductible.
Yeah, that's smart. Just for anybody that's listening, I think that's something good to know, that there's these places that if you as a filmmaker apply to work with them, they will kind of sponsor you basically. And so you're not getting money from them, but you're kind of under their umbrella.
Yeah.
And so then if someone donates any money to you, then they get to use that as a tax write-off. So that's such a big deal.
It's really, and it's not just money too, in kind, like if we're getting, we're having a location is being donated, and so that person will then get, will get a certificate of a tax write-off for the amount that would have been. So it's really helpful for that reason too. And I don't think we'll use this much, but for instance, if somebody was going to donate their time, so if, for instance, if they were to waive a fee that they would normally charge, that's something that we could also give them a credit for. So I think it's really helpful. And From the Heart is not the only organization that does fiscal sponsorship, but we found that we really aligned with them when we were reading their literature. And they also have a lot of, Carol Dean is the CEO, but they have a lot of courses that you can take too. In fact, more than I have time for. I get emails I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. I want to take this this course, like courses on writing, courses on funding, courses on all sorts of things. So, and then they also help us set up our a website that helps with donations. Like, so they help in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And they've been wonderful. So
that's so great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where we're at with that, and our hope is, we have a production meeting on Thursday actually, but our hope is to go into pre-production late May, early June, and hopefully film in July. Okay. If something, the alternative would be to film late August, early September. There's a couple of things that we're waiting to find out about, but yeah,
that's so exciting.
I'm really excited about this, about the script, about the project. Is there anything else you want to tease about, like just the world that it's in, or anything that you're excited about doing in it? It's very, there's a twist to it. It's a romantic comedy with a twist. Yeah. So I don't want to give away much. We have some potentially really exciting people joining the cast, so that's but yeah, nothing I can really talk about, but it's exciting. It feels good to be. I think I dedicated a few years there. Well, it's been nutty with the the pandemic and then the strike, and so I luckily teach as I teach acting at a performing arts college, AMDA, where we met, and getting to direct. That I've been able to keep going during all that time and still doing creative things. But it's nice to be back in close to pre-production mode.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Nice. So. Okay, so the big project that kind of got this side of your life started is Hey You, It's Me. So that's an amazing comedy web series that is just so fun and bright and witty and so good. What was the impetus for doing that, and what was your journey like for that one?
I'm really proud of that one, and it's funny because, and I'll go back to your question, but from Hey You, It's Me to Not Nothing, in between then, or I'd started to read some writing books, and I actually I don't recommend that. No, I'm kidding. The writing books are great. I hadn't read a single writing book when I read Hey You, It's Me, and I think to the benefit of the series, but it is a short series. They're short form, and it's different when you're building out. When I wrote the pilot for Hey You, It's Me, full length pilot. That's when I really had to go back and okay, we got to have real structure here. Short form is very different. But yes, so Hey You, It's Me, the impetus. Finished grad school, I was used to constantly making things, and before grad school I'd been producing theater, so I thought that that's what I would do when I came back, is work on that stuff. In addition to auditioning and doing film and TV. I went to a digital Hollywood conference, and I would listen to a panel of casting directors, and the world changes as it does all the time, and they were talking a lot about that they didn't need to go see theater much anymore because they could search for talent on the web. There's so many people making Webseries, there's so many people doing this and that, and Digital Hollywood was such a great conference, and I can't wait till it comes back in person. It's still online now.
Yes.
I loved it. I felt like it was that place where every 6 months I would go to figure out what I didn't know yet, and then I needed to learn, and then I'd learn, and then 6 months be like, hey, what else? But that was my first time going, and I went to lots of seminars with people who had made their own content and how, figured out how they funded it, how they produced it, how they learned how to do it. And I left, and I was just like, all right, that's what I'm doing. I'm making a show. And I had a few different ideas. My best friend, Scott Freeberg, we talked about, the idea started with all right, I just have an iPhone and I can do stuff myself. I can do this thing where I'm filming myself in the mirror talking. Because the idea, lots of ideas. But I, at the time, Christy, who we already spoke of, we would exchange voicemails a lot. I'm notorious for leaving very long voicemails. And because because our schedules were so crazy, and it was interesting. I was bopping around doing theater auditions and this and that, and it's amazing how much time we spend by ourselves and by ourselves in our cars in LA. And it just thought that was interesting to be communicating with someone, but not really, and by yourself all the time living this life. And I just kind of started writing off of that. I also always have been very amused by, amused is the best way I can put that, by customer service, interactions that are kind of mind-blowing. There was a time where I wanted to write a book called The Search for Competence, which was just chronicles of my experiences with customer service. But what I found was that those also, again, as my character Sam, and then Charlie, as Christy's character, are moving through the world, we're dealing with these things as we're trying to connect here, as we're trying to find relevance, as we're trying to make our dreams come true. And the one solace we have is with each other, but what the connection we have is these voicemails, because we still have, schedule-wise, it's hard to connect.
Yeah.
So the one person you really want to connect with.
It's it is a connection, but it's an asynchronous connection.
Right.
So and it's funny because that was so before our lives became online and before it became asynchronous. So I think you were tapping into something that was a theme that was going to come up way more than any of us hoped.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I was I wrote about being alone, and then the pandemic hit. No.
Yeah.
But it really is a love story about female friendship. And about the tenacity of chasing your dreams, and also the loneliness. Yeah. So
yeah. No, it's a beautiful series. It's very cool.
Thank you.
Then you took it and wrote the pilot, and I hope someday that'll just come back around.
Me too.
I think that's one that lives in the ether and is. Yeah. I feel like I want that one for you. I want that one to come back.
I would love that. I would love that. I think I'm learning more and more. Again, having started out as a theater actor, when I made Hey You It's Me, the idea of even how do you pitch a pilot? I'm learning more and more.
Right.
But at the time, I didn't really know. I was learning every day. There were so many times I would put someone on hold and try to look up what they were saying to me just to figure out how to answer the question. I went in being I can do it, with no idea what I was doing, which I think is kind of how you gotta do it.
That's
sometimes.
Badass. I mean, I think that's why I connect with you so much, is because I see that spark in you that you're no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Yes. That is true.
I don't know how yet, but I'm gonna do it.
I don't know how yet, but I want this, and and then at the same time, and I was just thinking about this, there are times where you're I think I want this, and then your gut is no. I think it's following your gut. Yeah. Because if you want it and your gut is I can do that, and that this needs to happen, then do it.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then sometimes it sounds like a good idea, but your gut says no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or someone will talk you into something, and then you're like, oh, I don't think that's my path. So it's good also to be able to. I was just saying that because it's good to be able to let go too.
Yeah.
Of things that you said you wanted to do that you are suddenly like, oh, turns out I don't want to do that.
Yeah, right. And I think that's so much of figuring out this career is like, just because someone who's like got the same title as you or thinks of themselves similarly has a specific path does not mean that's a healthy or fun path for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it really, at the end of the day, like this is so cliche, but like it's about being happy with what you're doing and feeling good about your life and not being overwhelmed, but not being like finding that mix and
Yeah.
And it's always this game, but I think if you're getting up every day and you're excited about what you get to do, then that's a win. So that's what I'm like always, striving for. And sometimes you're going to have to go through times where you're like, I don't really want to do this today, but I have to do it.
Yeah.
Because I have to. But like, I try to aim for a good 80% of the time. I'm excited about what I'm doing. And if it doesn't feel off, then you have to re-examine. And I'm like, oh, what am I,
That's a pretty good percentage.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that's the aim.
What does it feel like when it feels right for you?
It's like it's exhilarating. It's like it's that where you just look around and you're like, I get to do that. Like where you feel lucky, where you feel like you're lucky to be getting to do what you're doing.
Are you ready to be confident and comfortable in front of a camera? Well, my name is Jessica Payne, and I would love to help you. I'm an actor, acting coach, and the host of the Creators Cafe video podcast. I have helped thousands of people to learn the skills of a Hollywood actor to be more comfortable in their body, voice, and mindset whenever you press record. So if you're an entrepreneur, a business person who needs to be in front of the camera, or you want to get into digital content creation, I would love to offer you one-on-one on-camera performance coaching so that you feel like when you press record, you can be your best self. Check out the link below for more details, and I can't wait to work with you. Let's have fun together. So you've done so many things as an actress. You have acted in Moscow, you've been on lots of TV shows, and you also now are doing dubbing. Let's talk about that because it's such an interesting, cool, weird, specific thing. So this is dubbing, so doing the voiceover acting for a show that already exists, but you're doing the English language dub. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And I think Netflix especially has gotten really into bringing over foreign content. There's so many amazing shows and films being made, not in the United States. So what they'll do is they'll buy a series or a movie, and then they want to have it in English. So you have the option if you're watching it. You can watch it in the original language with subtitles, I believe, or you can watch it having been dubbed by somebody. You go in and usually sometimes I've been one character through a whole series. Sometimes I come in and do a bunch of different characters. So it depends. So you're in this booth. It's a little bit like karaoke. You've got a band. You've got a band going across with your words, and the object is to recreate the performance of the original actor, while only making noise when they were making noise, and then like frosting on the cake is if you can have your mouth moving in a similar way, even though it's a totally different language. And so it's I find it very fun because I think it's so challenging.
Yes.
Where you'll watch a scene once and they're like, you ready to go? Although I did one this week where we did Everything Cold. That, however, was not a narrative series. It's a Parisian series about house hunting real estate. But it was so fun. But it was like, that was my first time doing just like absolute cold reads. Like, all right, here we go. And like long scenes where you're just hoping that your mouth moves fast enough to get it. But it's fun.
I have watched it happening before, and it is so precise. And I know you're a musician as well. You're a singer. And I think that helps also having that kind of
musical mind that you can turn on for the tempo and the pacing and the lilting of matching somebody's voice, and it's just so fascinating to me. It's just a job unlike any other job I've ever seen. It's cool.
It's fun, and I think like physical work really helps with that because you're also, if you can match them physically, it's much more easy to match them vocally. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So you've done so much theater work as an actress, but also you've done your projects. You've also done a lot of TV work. What are some fun stories or projects where you really feel like you learned something and developed as an artist?
Okay, well, I've liked everything that I've done. I think for the most part, I've always had fun. I think you learn something from everything. So, but I think the most transformative production that I was in was a long time ago when I was my senior year of college. Blues for Mr. Charlie. They brought in an outside director, Bennett Guillory, who is an amazing actor also, but was just a phenomenal director. And Blues for Mr. Charlie is the James Baldwin story of Emmett Till, the Emmett Till story. And so we learned a lot as a cast. We did a lot of like period research. So that was very interesting. And then what I found transformative for me as an artist was figuring out how to use the tools that I had been taught, and also figuring out which ones did work and didn't, and what I still needed to learn. So I think it was such an emotionally, it was tapping into my emotional well so much with that role. I played Jo Britton, who was the woman who he spoke to, and then my husband and his friends go after him. And you see, it's a very good play. You see both sides of town, and then there's a preacher who is kind of back and forth playing, or is on the side of both. It's on the side of everybody, right? He's so anyway. It's but the amount of emotional depth that I needed to have access to wasn't quite count-onable yet. I have that access, but I was trying to figure out how to have it readily available. And it's where I started to realize that this idea of taking things from the past and using them, it just is not count-onable. You can't. And so I really started to figure out how to use my imagination. And really created the world and really crafted that out, which led me after. Not right after undergrad, because I was working in theater for a while, but when I had hit a moment where I wanted to continue studying, I found Stella Adler, because Stella Adler is based in that. Stella, Meisner, Stanislavski. It's all where Stanislavski landed at the end of his life is all based in this idea of using your dramatic imagination. But I had to kind of figure that out on my own first, and then found something that aligned with it.
I love it that you actually needed the technique and then found the technique. Whereas I feel a lot of people just kind of lean on one technique and then figure out the pitfalls of that technique, and only then just start looking for options because it was kind of a bad choice for them. So I'm glad you went out on a journey of discovery.
No, it was so good. I started figuring that out, and then when I walked into Stella the first day, I'm sure they thought I was a crazy person. I was like, this is what I do. This is what I figured. And then and it was so exciting, and I found a home there for many years. So
you went to undergrad for acting. You ultimately went to grad school for acting and got your MFA. You've gone to Stella Adler classes, and you're currently teaching acting at a college and taking acting classes. And I think that's so admirable because so many people, once they've kind of hit any kind of, I've been given a check for acting, they think they're done. So I know you consider yourself a lifelong learner in all the areas, but can you kind of touch on what you found as you develop as an actor and what you like in classes and what you're attracted to, or any recommendations you have, or anything in this kind of lifelong learning as an artist category?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the class that I'm in currently is with Tom Irwin, and it's a part of Steppenwolf West, or was at one point. And what I love about it is that it's not It's not anything to do with the business. It's not Hollywoody at all. There's no guru. It's not a guru teacher. And again, much respect to people who are honed in their craft and have a large, a large group of students. But it's just about the work. And we do really good work by really good playwrights, and we spend time on it, and we analyze it, and it's just a bunch of like theater nerds in a room, just having fun dissecting theater. So that, like, I can't. Why would I not want to do that? But as far as stopping when you get a paycheck, there was a moment when I was working on a role in grad school where I was in the office with Alex Gelman, who was the chair, and I was just trying to figure out this character, and I was having some trouble. She was the villain in the story, but making sure that I was bringing humanity to her, and I was just getting a little frustrated, and I started crying, and I said, I don't think I'm ever gonna figure this out, and he said, exactly. You aren't ever, and that's what's exciting. Like, we're never, like, you figure, you mine a role, and you try to figure out how to walk in that person's shoes, and then how to best, how to affect your audience, and then there's another role that you have to figure out all over again. Yeah. And you've got your tools, and you've got your craft, but it's always like, each role is a new person that you have to then be like, okay, what does the world look like through their eyes, and why am I doing this thing that I'm doing, and how am I justifying it? And so, like, that's like and it's a muscle that constantly needs to be worked, but it's also consistently and constantly exciting. So I think, like, that's the reason for classes, is making sure that, like, that you're getting to do that, and we get these auditions, and maybe it's 3 pages, maybe it's 5, you're doing it quickly, but it's not the same level of, like, just getting to just nerd out on human behavior and how do we have our audience walk away having been affected or changed in some way by what we're doing.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thanks. And now I have to ask you the opposite, because you kind of have a specialty in your teaching of being an industry insider for people who are just starting their career. And I think what I love is you are a really good bridge for people who are want to do kind of industry best practices and really want to show up for themselves in the best way that they can. So what have you learned talking to all the people that you get to talk to and interview and hear? What are some recommendations you have for actors who are like in there and giving it their all, but maybe really bad on the business side? What are any tips that you have, or viewpoints, or anything that kind of seems to have helped you or others over the years?
Yeah, I mean, you asked a lot of things in that, so I love it.
Anything that's your
100%,
favorite.
100%. So, but I'll start with, like, I think, like, with any business, which this is, you have to believe in your product.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have to think it's, like, going to make people's lives better, or going to help, like, that it has value. And we all struggle with that not being the case a lot of times. So it's not necessarily business advice, but figuring out some practices in your own life where you can really own who you are, feel worthy, believe you belong in the room. I think is huge, because confidence is huge in this business, but really any business. So that's one thing. We just talked about continuing to, like, be good at what you do. Yeah. Make sure that the product that you're selling is is functioning and it's shiny, and, like, that's
right. You're actually selling a good product.
Right. And doing the work, loving the work. Yes, the materials, right? We want to make sure that your headshots are great, and your resume looks good, and that your reels reflective of what you can do and what you want to do. I have students create character trait lists of, like, so that they're really honing in on what character traits to characters that they want to play have, and you start understanding, like, what you do well. Again, like it's all about like it's really about understanding and believing in this instrument, this product that you are. And then I think honestly, like being a good person and being like someone people want to work with.
Yeah.
And continuing to do what you do, create stuff, like make short films, help somebody out with something, go see other people's plays, like that, always be learning. But, we have to find ways, if we're not making money acting, like to bring money in, but you've also got other hours in your day. So I think this is an industry of relationships and connections. But yes, you can meet someone at a party and at a bar, like you can meet someone that way, but when you show up for them, when you bring them on to your thing, when you help them with something, or appreciate them for what they do, that's why. So that those are some vague, very vague.
No, I think those are big,
but,
kind of idealistic, in the good way.
Right. And knowing that it's not, for most people, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's a life commitment. If you decide that you want to do this, like it's because you love it and it's because you want to do that, and you're going to continue to find ways to do it. Period. And just trust that. Again, we talked about that earlier a little bit. Is that that you just want to wake up every day feeling good about what you're doing. And levels of success will come to you as they come to you, but a lot of that is out of your control. So
yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. What scares you as an artist?
As an artist?
Yeah. Or just snakes. What scares you?
I guess with like a lot, failure, right? Like I don't know, but that comes in many different ways, like not telling the story the way you see it in your mind. Maybe not, like if you're worried about not doing justice to a character that you're playing. I think there's something really scary about playing somebody who has actually lived. Right? Like again, like I think we should hold ourselves accountable to do justice to every character.
Yeah.
But I think I think just it's not doing it well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's scary. You wanna do things well, and we want people to respond to it.
Yeah.
So it's also there's also something scary about putting stuff out there and having people not like it, and of course, some people are always not gonna like it, but it's still a little scary.
Yeah. Yeah. What inspires you, or who, or what? Well,
the who. So I'm inspired by tenacity. People that we talked about, like going for what you want, or what you believing in yourself and getting it done. Inspired by people who are joyful, who just decide that they're going to appreciate. I strive for that, but I have great admiration for that when I see it in others. I was going to say Reese Witherspoon is one who I find inspirational in just how she's figured out how to she's figured out how to like keep her career going, make things that other people can be, and bring people. It's from her book club to like just the strategizing. Again, she's a brilliant businesswoman. The business strategy, I think, is admirable, and I don't know that I always have that, because I'll be like, oh, if I like it enough, I'm like, I'll do it for free, Yeah. We should edit that part. No, I'm kidding. But no, I think there's
pay her.
But yeah,
really well.
But yeah, so I'm inspired by those things. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you do if I gave you a magic wand and you could wave it and you could do absolutely anything with any budget, artistically?
So I can't say this because I really do want to do it someday, so I don't want to lay. But there is I love sports movies.
Yes.
And there is a sports movie that I want to make,
Yeah.
and I have it, and I have it partly written.
Yeah.
I just want to, like, it's one of those things where growing up, there were so many sports movies with guys, and I have not yet seen an equivalent with females, and if March Madness showed us nothing,
Yes.
it's that with this, let's tell some female sports stories.
Yeah, what a good time. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, we had King Richard, but it was more arguably about the father.
Right.
Again, there are some movies, but I just have this thing I really want to make.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What is your creator's challenge?
Oh, that's right. My challenge is for listeners to think of something that like a situation that frustrated them, or maybe even made them sad, made them very angry, anything like that, and rewrite it as A, a comedy, or B, just find the humor in it. If you can't go as far as making it a comedy, find the humor. Like, what about that situation is ridiculous? And, like, just yes and if this is true, what else could be true? The whole thing. That's a very fun exercise. I think I do it naturally in life, and so it took a while to figure out I could write that down. But I've been told that I laugh at things are funny and I laugh, or things are tragic, and I laugh, and I don't know where that goes from, but I think I enjoy that.
I've been in tough situations with you, and you're very good at finding the light. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. But I think it's fun. Like, those are also fun stories. Like, those are the ones where there's this scene that I'm directing right now called My First Lockdown.
Whoa.
And it's about these two girls get trapped in a closet during a lockdown because it's a shooter.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, and it's so, like, it's one of those things that's just, like, the circumstances are tragic, obviously, and the scene is so funny, and the girl ends up, like, having to pee in the closet because she left the bathroom when she got the thing, and it's these two girls that are very different, and not in the same social worlds. But there's something like that,
Yeah,
where
the
it's
dichotomy.
just, like, the dichotomy, and I was like, this is because we don't want to stop telling these awful situations, but in some way that gets to me more. That, like, it's.
For me, it does too. It, like, gets past the gate.
Yes, it gets past the gate,
and so then I really feel it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I completely understand.
Yeah. And
that's great, because then that gives you the impetus to create something that gets past the gate.
Yes.
That's cool. I just got creative goosebumps.
Yay!
Congratulations.
I love creative goosebumps.
I know, they're my
so
favorite.
Great.
That means it's a good one. Nice.
Yeah. So that's the good stuff. That's the stuff I want to make. That's the stuff I want to be in.
Yeah. Well, and I think, we talked at the beginning about how your projects are like, well, this is this really dark drama and this is the comedy, but of course all of your stuff is about life, and so it has both aspects, and it is very real, even though it is in a genre and belongs there. So I think your work brings that heart to it either way.
Thank you. And I think we're all on this journey of figuring out how we want to tell stories, how we want to what sort of things we want to create. And so I think that it's been a process for me, just figuring out what that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is still a process.
Yeah. So if people want to find you or get a tax write-off and donate to your project, where should they look for you?
So my Instagram is Suzanne J. Schmidt. I think
and I'll link to everything in the show notes. So that's a good place to start.
Okay, great. Show notes. And I've Linktree to a lot of stuff from Instagram. And yes, just DM me there if you want to hear more about the fiscal sponsorship for this upcoming film, which is called Unboxing currently titled Unboxing. It's going to be great. In partnership with my production company, which is High Tide, and Drama 3-4.
Perfect. Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you so much, and cheers.
Cheers.
Yes.
Join the community and share your creative challenges on Instagram and Facebook at Creators Cafe by Kika Labs. And also check out my website, kikalabs.com, KIKALABS.com, to sign up for the mailing list so you always know when a new podcast is released, and to check out my coaching and digital courses to help you be a more confident and joyful creator.